Sir, can you give us some of the examples of human rights abuses that you found in Zamboanga during this crisis?
Well, the most egregious example of human rights abuse and even a violation of the international humanitarian law was the use by the MNLF of hostages as human shields. It's a serious violation of IHL, and we think that's the worst violation in this instance. No? And then the other abuse that we see on the MNLF side is that their alleged use of minors and children in the conflict. We've documented at least 3 minors who the military and the police said were combatants. On the military side, the violations that we've documented were the torture and mistreatment of MNLF detainees. Mm-hmm. The common method being by trying to suffocate them using plastic bags over their head. Mm-hmm. At least 5 detainees told us that. Ng iba, binubugbog, yung iba, binulublob yung ulo sa inodoro, saka meron pang isa na binuhusan doon ng alcohol ang ilong. So it's a clear violation. And then meron pang yung may principle kasi sa IHL na if civilians are already at risk and then you did something that puts them at greater risk, that's a violation. In the case of this conflict, ang ginawa ng MNLF, ginawang human shield sila so that their lives were at risk. But the military, during their operations, according to the hostages, kept firing at them kahit alam ng hostages sila, and may have wounded or killed some of the hostages. So, yung action ng military to just keep firing at the hostages and the MNLF put the risk of the civilians at a higher level. So that's a violation. In terms of it would be difficult, in fact, to second-guess the action of government as far as the military and operational aspect of this is concerned. Hindi naman tayo, wala naman tayo doon, hindi naman tayo sundalo, and they supposedly know they know how to handle situations like this. There are, however, concerns about the impact. Halimbawa, yung pagsunog ng communities. It's not clear at this point, although the military is saying it's rebels who did that. It's not clear at this point who, sinong sumunog ng ganitong kalawak. Like 10,000 homes. It's still a question. Pangalawa, yung air assault. We were concerned about that because that obviously meron pa mga hostages at the time, and because it's a densely populated area, maraming bahay. It would be difficult to determine kung saan yung mga hostages nakatago or saan yung mga. An airstrike like that, it raises the level of risks for the civilians. On the humanitarian aspect of this, in fairness to the government, they've been trying their best to really answer the needs of the evacuees, the IDPs. Now, I have to say that the Philippine military and authorities, they're supposed to be on the moral high ground here. We have to disabuse the military and the police from the thinking that the violation of IHL or human rights by the MNLF justifies their own violation of human rights. That's not how it works. A violation by one side cannot and will never justify the violation of the other side. And in terms of the military and the police, they're supposed to know better. They have human rights desks, they have the structure, they have the facilities, they have the people to make sure that the human rights of like not hostages, the civilians, and the detainees are respected. It's just so sad that in this instance, now there are instances of violations of human rights. It just reinforces the image of the military as this non-respecting of human rights entity that we've all been railing against. Keep in mind that the military hindi pa nakakabangon yan from all these allegations of extrajudicial killings, tortures, disappearances that victimize activists. It has not recovered from that. It's still trying to grapple with that. It's still trying to find ways to be accountable for all those human rights violations. And then here comes this crisis. Now, instead of the military being on a high moral high ground and being examples of good conduct as far as human rights are concerned, violating the rights of civilians and detainees. I just don't see the justification for any human rights abuse in this case. I mean, surely these people have suffered enough. I mean, I'm talking about the Muslims, not just in Zamboanga but elsewhere. For the military to start violating their rights just because they're suspected of being rebels, you're just amping up the problem. You're just worsening the problem. And the military should step back and reassess its human rights adherence in this conflict and international humanitarian law. There's no, again, I have to stress this, there's no justification for human rights abuses by the military in this conflict.